Hello, everyone, and welcome into the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series on Vidane TV. 30 miles north of San Francisco and just a mile or so north of the San Pablo Bay lays the 12-turn road course. That'll be our home for the next hour or so. It's Sonoma Raceway. Paul Showtime Strickland is at the control boards tonight, and Tim Terry, our drivers, are turning right and left again.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen these drivers turn left and right in a long while, and a little bit of a shorter field, but I think the drivers up in front are going to put on an absolute show. Daniel Falkingham, Kevin King. You'd have to believe Kevin are probably two of the favorites coming in, but there's also about another 30 or so that are looking to spoil their party.
Yeah, the way that we're going to do this tonight is 60 minutes of action. 60 minutes, throw the checkered flag, no cautions. And to your point, I see in practice that Daniel Falkingham seems to be mighty quick here tonight. One of the important things for these drivers, just keep the thing on the blacktop.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that this thing stays on the circuit. I know a couple of drivers kind of struggled with that in the practice session. So keep it on the blacktop, keep it on the racetrack for 40 laps here this evening, and then try to come home with a victory. No cautions. I believe, Kevin, they have to pit at least once in the 40 laps, so they cannot make the full race on fuel. They'll have to come in at some point. Do you split this race in half? Do you kind of short pit, try to take less fuel? A little bit of strategy will come into this, especially for those guys that maybe are trying to run mid-pack and trying to undercut a little bit of the traffic in front of them.
Yeah, one of those racetracks that just perplexes some people, and I've run a bunch of laps at this racetrack, and one of the things, you just feel like the car's not in the racetrack. You really have to throw it into the corners to get it to turn, and some drivers, they got a good knack for that, others don't, and I expect we'll see some extracurricular activity off track here tonight, but yep, that's why we're here. We're going to watch and see what happens, and honestly, I have no clue how this thing's going to turn out.
There are a lot of elevation changes here as well. You mentioned the left and the right-handers. There's a lot of up and down as well. So these drivers are going to have to try to navigate that. I think if you look at that second row, Adam Gilland, Justin Fuller both know their way around here. They both know how to win races in SIM500 competition. They are going to be stout, but there's some drivers who didn't have some very good luck in qualifying. They're going to have to come from the back, and with the disadvantage of no cautions this evening, they're going to have to get up on the wheel for every one of these 40 laps.
Field rows around this racetrack coming down to the hairpin and to what is ideally the front straightaway where the start-finish line is to cut this thing off. And as we said, we're not doing an official lap counter. There's 40 laps in the race itself, but 60 minutes is the time pace car is going to make that left-hand turn the field over to Daniel Falkingham, Kevin King out front. Adam Gilland and Justin Fuller, last week's winner, are going to start in the top four here. RPM's coming up on the cars as they make this last curve and head off to the straightaway. The green flag is out. We're racing at Sonoma.
Ooh, Adam Gilland sideways coming off the corner, coming to the green flag. I don't know if he got the wall or maybe just got a little sideways, but that car walked away from him, and now he's trying to regain composure. He's got Byron Daly to the inside. Here comes David Comstock as well to try to pick up the pieces. But up in front, Kevin King vaults out to the lead. First side-by-side battle back there was Trey Edson and I believe somebody else back there, maybe E.J. O'Rourke. That's David Comstock they're battling with. But nevertheless, first couple of laps, first couple of moments, Kevin, these tires are cold, and I think we saw that with Adam Gilland just trying to get that thing up to speed and where to start. He lost a couple of spots trying to figure that out.
Yeah, very hard to get a hold of this slippery racetrack as they're almost three wide going down here through this carousel to the straightaway that is the drag strip. You got Byron Daly trying to chase Adam Gilland and Justin Fuller. Top two of Falkingham and Kevin King have broken away. Kevin King is not able to shed Falkingham as they come through the S's for the first time.
Kevin's finished second a bunch of times this season, and I don't think he needs to be reminded that he's trying to get that win to lock himself into the Transervice Cup Series playoffs, and it's got a driver behind him that it took him a little while to get to victory lane this season, Kevin and Daniel Falkingham, and Daniel wants to do what everybody else has been trying to do, and that's make sure Kevin doesn't go to victory lane to punch that ticket in to make their playoffs a little more difficult. But Kevin will come around the hairpin, and they'll lead lap number 1. Daniel Falkingham comes down right in behind him, and status quo. And, you look kind of off the pan shot there for the most part, except for a couple of drivers, maybe mid-pack. Everybody's kind of found their own little piece of racing real estate here in Wine Country.
Yeah, nice clean lap for everybody here on lap number 1. Did not see a lot of cars off track action. I'm back here riding with Ira Kohaas. He's running in that 23rd position. He's got Doug Roth and Scott Stenzel right in front of him. Everybody just kind of tiptoeing here for this first couple laps. You do need to let the tires come up to temperature before the car gets into the racetrack a little bit. And, well, we're going to see if some of these drivers can make their direction forward. Right now, everything looks pretty good here at Sonoma.
You look back there's some drivers as well back there in that little pack that we just saw that maybe didn't have the exact qualifying run that they wanted, but they're still trying to find their footing around this race course. As you see Daniel Falkingham try to get into the braking zone a little bit harder than Kevin to try to pick up a little bit of time in the back bumper. In behind them, Justin Fuller has a little bit of a slip from position number 3, and Adam Gilland going to try to pick up one more spot. He's moved back to position number 4, but Fuller trying to hold on to that third place position. 2 teammates going at it here in those personal comfort number 81 cars as they work down here to a little bit closer to completing lap number 2.
Trouble for Tyler Dalton over there in turn number 6. That's the new carousel turn coming in. He got off into the grass, slid up the banking, came down, and got hung up on the catch fence. He had to call for a tow, and he's sitting in pit road right now.
Justin Fuller got back to the back bumper of Adam Gilland as Gilland made that move just to kind of, you better be gone by the time we come off the hairpin, and he definitely was. Adam Gilland goes back to position number 3, about 3 seconds now in behind Kevin King and Daniel Falkingham, but Justin Fuller, perfect, I think, execution from the team per se, to let Adam go by, and Fuller didn't lose a whole lot of time, Adam didn't lose a whole lot of time, and now they continue on, and Byron Daly in behind, not a bad 5th place run so far for the 33, and just ahead of David Comstock in the 13, who's got Trey Edson on his back bumper.
Field starting to stretch out now. You get back to like the 9th position for Robert Gillenwater. He's kind of fallen off a little bit from E.J. O'Rourke. O'Rourke looked pretty fast in traffic, but could not seem to get some consistent laps. I was watching him in practice. I think he's a bit of a sleeper, though. I think that 41 car looked pretty quick. If he could just get that car turning right and left the way it's supposed to be, that 41 may have something for these guys tonight.
We don't usually classify E.J. O'Rourke as a road racer, but I think looking at the last couple of weeks, albeit we did have an off week last week, the momentum heading into what is going to be the summer stretch here in the Transervice Cup Series, I think E.J. O'Rourke's got something to try to contend. If not for a playoff spot with everything going on, he should be pointing his way into the playoffs. And then what does he have? Try to build some momentum, try to put some notes in, and try to make a run for this Transervice Cup Series championship as he tries to make a run a little bit closer to Trey Edson and David Comstock ahead of him. There's Daniel Falkingham on your screen. He is the 2nd place driver. And then back here in the Hornets nest, there goes a couple of cones. I think that was Glenn Campbell back there in the 44, the 37 of Elliot Henderson. Going at it and messing up the cones on pit entry.
Yeah, fastest car right now on the racetrack as far as coming forward. David Comstock running in that 6th position. He's picked up 2 positions and turning some pretty good lap times in that number 13. But the fastest lap time so far, Kevin King with 1:37.50. Although Falkingham is only 300 slower than him, just keeping pace and keeping him honest.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people or a couple of drivers mid-pack just pick up positions. Obviously, they didn't get the qualifying effort that they wanted to. You're seeing on your screen right now Jose Gonzalez. He picked up a few spots from 24th to 17th. He is working right ahead of, I believe that might be Brandon Massey, up the road a little bit. We saw Josh Williams a couple of moments ago, the 95 car. Has picked up 5 spots into position number 11. There he is on your screen right in front of Kevin Brown. So there's a couple of drivers that have picked up some positions here, a handful of spots early in this one. There's a couple of drivers that have fallen a couple of positions, but for the most part, and it just seems the way these road courses go, Kevin, where you qualify is about where you run for the most part, at least in the top 10 or so. That's holding true.
Yeah, another driver right there in that mix from the shot is Kevin Brown. He's picked up a bunch of different positions. He's up 6. And let's take a lap with Kevin Brown. If we can go inside with him as he comes through the hairpin, we'll see a full lap here at Sonoma. He's hard on the brake, left front tire is locked up. You come off this straightaway, you got to sweep to the right so that you can sweep left into the corner. Come down this straightaway to the start-finish line. There's Barney waving the flag. Tight to this wall. We see some drivers sometimes clip it. Again, you're just doing all the steering you can to get over to that berm. Right here, you're going to hit the rumble strips, not drive out too wide. You're going to feed to the right a little bit here going in so you can make this left-hander. And then you're going to swing it right and try and get as much gas as you can coming down the straightaway. Then you got to get hard on the brakes, turn right. They used to go straight there. It was unusual for me the first time driving this track. One car off to the side there, letting these guys go by. This is a blind corner. You come up over this hill and come down through this sweeping corner. You could attack it from the outside. You could attack it from the inside. It's all about the drive off here. You're going to go all the way out and use the rumble strips. And here, you're just hard on the gas, up through the gears, second, third, fourth, right here to lock up those brakes and do a full hairpin turn. This is where we used to turn in to come to the Estes. You're running second, third gear here. You're sweeping the car left and right. Right turn here, just a little brake to make this left so that you can get over to the left to sweep right, because this is the important part. Fastest part of the racetrack coming down through here. Straighten the car out, get as much run as you can, tap the brake, hang it right, and get to this straightaway to the braking zone. This is where you're going to make your passes by trying to outbrake your competitor as he's clearing the cones in front of him, Williams. And again, you sweep through on, and that's a lap at Sonoma. Perfect job done here by Kevin Brown.
And that is about the middle of the pack right now. He has made up those positions and continues to work his way towards the front. Great view there, coming down the front straightaway and up the hill as you see Kevin Brown try to reel back in Josh Williams. Kevin King continues to lead. Daniel Falkingham in second. And actually, we have one off there, off the top of the hill there. But they continue on. The two drivers up in front, Kevin, are kind of keeping pace with each other. You know, within a second, Kevin seems to be ripping off a couple of quick laps, and Daniel Falkingham will kind of reel him back in. And you can see that there's a fairly big gap back to position number 3. Adam Gilland hasn't been able to do anything with these top two. Justin Fuller has fallen off Adam just a little bit. So it's almost like the top two, Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham, kind of running in their own little zip code right now. Adam Gilland kind of running his own race. Justin Fuller kind of the same. And then once you get back to those guys that we saw there about a lap ago, like Kevin Brown and a few others, they've got something to race for right now. These guys here, kind of content to ride right now.
And you just see how smooth the top two drivers are when they go through. You see these drivers, they're using all the racetrack. You're pushing so hard in these hairpin corners that the car just plows through it. But the way to make speed here is to hustle through. And you see a lot of these drivers really working the wheel, getting the car left, standing on the gas, standing on the brakes, standing on it as we got one car around.
That's a little too hard to work. There
he goes again.
What we saw with Kevin Brown, we got a party over here. I think that's Bobby Wetzel joining him.
Yeah, you know, when you come through that corner, you want to be in second gear, and you're going to smash the gas, but it is easy to break it. A lot of drivers just cut bait, go to third, and they keep from wheel spin there, but yeah, you got to be really careful. Somebody said, I hate driving this racetrack because you got to drive it with your big toe on the gas.
And with these cup cars, they've got a lot of horsepower to them. They're a heavy race car. You really have to finesse these bricks, per se, around this racetrack. It's almost like and I think Clint Boyer kind of mentioned it on Sunday with the NASCAR on Fox broadcast. This place is, if you called it if you compared it to an oval, it's a short track of road courses. If that makes any sense, you really have to be on it. You really have to finesse your race car around and race yourself, but also race the competition as Byron Daly tries to reel back in the 5 and Trey Edson to pick up that spot.
And you see a couple different approaches. Some of the drivers are up on the rumble strip. They're letting the car swing out, and then they're back on the gas. Others, they're just staying on the racetrack and being as smooth as they can in the corner. So how aggressively you you attack the racetrack. Well, that's your choice. If you do attack the racetrack, though, Tim, sometimes it's going to bite you. You're going to slide off, and you're going to give up everything that you've been racing for.
And the cool thing that Paul just put on our screen, that is a cool little track map. And I believe that is position-wise that you're going to see on your screen. So that green 1 that's to the right-hand side of your screen, that is Kevin King. That is your leader. He's got Daniel Falkingham right in behind. And you can see they are coming up on the 27th place race car here sooner rather than later. And that would be Mike Montesi, not having the night that he's wanted to so far this evening. But there are cars circulating all the way around this racetrack as we will work lap number 8 of 40 here. So still plenty of laps to get this thing done if you're in the middle of the pack. But that kind of goes to show right now, and you continues to change. That is the driver we are looking at. But you can see how the field is kind of spread out a little bit. Got that 1-2 battle that we saw a little bit earlier. Got that 3-4 battle that's kind of close, and 5 through 8 looks a little tight. And other than that, there's a couple of drivers running all by themselves. That ninth place car, Robert Gilland, you can see him on that track map, and right there on your screen now. He's kind of got no traffic in front of him and no pressure from behind.
Yeah, just kind of cruising his own way through it. And the car that continues to be on the march is the 93 of Kevin Brown, up to that 10th position right now, coming through the sweep over there. Well, let me see if I can figure out what corner he's in. I can't, the sensibility that I had, it's corner number 7. From the old days where that was 7A, I just can't seem to get the numbers straight, Tim. Comes down to the sharp corner, which is now corner number 12, right through there, coming back to complete the lap as it continues to be Kevin King leading the way over Daniel Falkingham. Have a 6, almost 7-second lead over Adam Gilland. Justin Fuller's hanging right there, 2 seconds back behind Gilland. Trey Edson is your 5th place driver. It's Byron Daly, David Comstock, EJ O'Rourke, Robert Gillenwater, and Kevin Brown rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, we got some tight little battles throughout this field. There's Jose Gonzalez chasing down the 44, Glenn Campbell, the Transervice ride, up ahead of the number 26. And looking at the field, there's a driver that I don't believe I saw here this evening. The other Transervice ride of the 30 of Brian Macklin, not here this evening. So there's a couple of drivers. I think, Kevin, that they have some drops in this series. I believe they have 4 drops in the regular season. Some of those drivers may just end up using the drop here and say, I'm not going to come out and race tonight just because of, maybe my road racing prowess, I guess. Not saying that Brian Macklin is a slouch on road courses everywhere we go in this Transervice Cup Series. He is one of those drivers that you need to watch to go to victory lane. But some of these drivers may be taking that drop here this evening, start of the summer, try to recharge the batteries per se for the run. But Glenn Campbell doing fairly well here this evening, continues to slowly work his way up through the pack, and started in 14th, lost a couple of positions, now back up to position number 13 as Jose Gonzalez chases him in.
Yeah, Gonzalez having a good run coming through. Not a good qualifying run for him. Currently running 14th, up 10 positions. I'm watching this battle between Byron Daly running in that 8th position and EJ O'Rourke in 7th. They've pretty much been swapping back and forth. They were to the back bumper of David Comstock there, running in the 6th position. Comstock had a good run through the S's, was able to drive them away as 41 hustles through that corner over there. And this has just been a good little tussle. As soon as I start to talk about it, they stretch out a little bit, but they were literally swapping positions over there in turn number 7 a moment ago.
And now Byron Daly has to chase him back down as they come down the hill and onto the drag strip. Kevin King continuing to lead this thing this time by. They'll be 1/4 distance this evening in this Transervice Cup Series race. And you'll see Daniel Falkingham try to track him down just a little bit. The lead is extended to about 1.2 seconds. Falkingham will get a couple of good laps, and then Kevin will rip off a real quick lap as there goes the cone again at the end of pit road, and get that little bit of an advantage and extend it a little bit. I think if there's anywhere that Daniel is struggling, Kevin, is right there where we just saw coming out of the hairpin. I've seen a couple of times where Daniel's been I don't want to say struggling to get the power down, but it just seems like every time he puts the foot down, the thing wiggles a little bit, and the attitude of that race car isn't as smooth as Kevin King's up front. Obviously, it's still a lot better than the rest of this field, but just maybe, there's one more off the racetrack. I think that might be the 28 car again. He's not having a great night. But the 39 just seems to be, I think if there's any struggle anywhere, I think it's just trying to get that power down, especially in the hairpin.
And you could certainly tell how many laps Kevin King has put in here. He's smooth like butter. The car's not wobbling around. They're not banging off of the curbing, and they're just on perfect trajectory. They come down here. The car is not sideways going through, just draws away from Daniel Falkingham. Daniel was a little loose up off that corner, and it results in a couple tenths here, a couple tenths there. The one thing that you were talking about, when you go through that hairpin turn, you either go hard on the brake and coast through and then stomp on the gas to come off, or the opposite. And perhaps these two were doing it differently down there at the other end of the speedway.
And to your point, to Kevin's preparation for this race, I know Kevin ran the FTF Cup Series last night. I'm not sure what setup they run in that series, but I know he did run NIS fixed on Saturday morning. And the thing we're going to have to watch, and it's the same deal as everybody in this field, is the concentration, especially with no cautions, because you're not going to have a yellow flag. The only time you're going to have an opportunity to kind of breathe is when you come down pit road, get your tires changed, get your fuel in your race car. It's the only time you're really going to have an opportunity to kind of breathe and have that 20-second moment where you can just kind of catch your breath a little bit. But back in that NIS race on Saturday morning, Kevin, I believe, had a 14-second lead. And he had a moment, just had an off. Just car came around on him right around this portion of the racetrack. And he lost 4 or 5 seconds, but he regained his composure and continued on. Now, if you have that happen now, Daniel Falkingham is not too far behind. But at the same token, Daniel has to keep that same focus on this race as well. So it's a mental game that these guys are going to have to play, and they're going to play it here as Randy Yoakum goes by. And Richard Beasley, the Super Speedway specialist, not doing very well here this evening on the road course.
Yeah, you see the 39 of Falkingham coming underneath the 8 of Randy Yoakum. This is another contention that these drivers who are out front will have to deal with as they come around. What is the conveyor belt of this racetrack? They're going to catch different lap cars. Presumably the lap cars, knowing how fast these two are, will get out of the way. But sometimes, even when you try to get out of the way, you're in the way. You just can't do it, Tim.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to maneuver. And we kind of saw that with that battle between Adam Gilland and Justin Fuller a little bit earlier, where they were able to coordinate the pass in the hairpin and just kind of, take the inside, go by. We'll see what Kevin can do here up the road with Richard Beasley. And then he's got a little ways, as you can see on your track map, to the right-hand side, a little ways back up to the next spot in line at position number 19. We did see Brandon Massey come down into pit road. You saw him on your screen a couple of moments ago. So this is now the 20th place car right there. Opportunity for Beasley to kind of pull over and allow Kevin King to sweep by on the outside and continue on. He'll do the same here with Falkingham, I'm sure, and then he'll have a little bit of a gap back to the next lead lap car that Richard Beasley, or they would catch Richard Beasley in that number 10. And I know he was one of those drivers that doesn't do a whole lot of road course racing throughout his season, Kevin, but just trying to keep that thing on the racetrack, not have any offs, not incur any of those off-track penalties per se, and move on to the next race in this Transervice Cup Series.
Yeah, if you're not a road course ace, respectable times about 145, 144. Sometimes you can get down to that 140 time frame. Beasley running average lap times about 147, 148. That's 1 minute, 47 seconds. So, he's got a reasonable enough pace to stay in the game here, but certainly not matching the lap times of 1 minute, 39 seconds. And you can see that Kevin King, he's just putting to him, where Daniel Falkingham has fallen off a little bit, not slow by any stretch. Kevin King hasn't dropped at all. He's just continues to put in 1 minute 39 second laps. Tell you the car picking up the pace there is the 81 of Adam Gilland and also Justin Fuller. Both of them are in that 140 time frame and making some pretty good time.
The only problem with these two cars back here, and you can see that gap to Daniel Falkingham from Adam Gilland, is Adam is about 15 seconds off of Kevin King, and then Fuller is about another 2 seconds or so off of Adam Gilland. So they might be matching lap times the last couple of laps, but you see that there on the bottom of your screen, those 140 laps and then a 142 in the middle right there on lap number 11. So there's, and Daniel Falkingham obviously a little bit quicker each lap than Adam Gilland, which doesn't help if you try to catch the car in front of you, that car being a little bit quicker. But that lap 11 kind of sticks out. Not sure if there was an off there. Speaking of an off, that might be one there. Is that Kevin Brown?
Yeah, Kevin Brown coming through the, no, it looks like he's in pretty good shape here coming down the front straightaway to complete lap number 14. Must have been someone else.
No, he had to slide into the tires on the, you can see the damage right there. He got into the tires in the hairpin.
Yep, okay. Duly noted, no front hood on that car. Well, that's what we were talking about, right? You run and run and run, and you get fast lap times, and then you hustle the car a little bit too much, and you find some problems. Jose Gonzalez has made his way to 12th. He's the driver that continues to march forward.
Yeah, the other thing is, too, and I'm not sure, I know this racetrack hasn't been updated by iRacing in a while, but those tire barriers that are in the hairpin do not move. A lot of the rallycross tracks that iRacing has now, or the IRX tracks, they will move those tire barriers. If you go around a corner and you hit one of those tire bundles, they'll move over like they would in real life. For Kevin Brown's sake, we might need to ask iRacing to do that in the hairpin, because if it wasn't for that, I think Kevin Brown's damage would be a lot less. But those tires, unfortunately, as Kevin found out, do not move.
Not sure if Trey Edson was witness to that or just flat out missed the corners. He went through that. He was about 2 car lengths off of the tires going through that hairpin turn. Now he comes through turn number 3 over to 3A, coming to turn number 4. Edson having a quiet night, top 5 for the number 5 car, coming down through turn number 4. Big sweep out. He's going to go off into the grass. And, you know, some of these drivers, they're going to get that penalty that just continues to show up every time they go off. But I don't believe that impacts a league race, so you don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't want to get too far off the racetrack, though, because the sim will tell you to slow down and give up that time gain. But you don't want to get too far off. But the good news with Sonoma is that if you go off the racetrack here, Kevin, chances are you're going to be in the dirt anyway, so your night's probably not as well as it was before, as the 41 of EJ Aurora tries to track down David Comstock, but about a couple of seconds in between there as the field works around the 28th car one more time. But yeah, if you're going off the racetrack here, you're likely incurring a little more than penalties. You're likely not having a good night as it is.
Watching Mike Kelly running in that 11th position. The number 2 Verizon car draws up on the back bumper of Kevin Brown. Brown being held up by the 33 of Byron Daly. They go around turn number 7 to 7A and come down through the S's. And Mike Kelly, well, there goes the 93 off the racetrack. And Kelly's going to pick up that position. The 33 looks absolutely sideways. And Kelly going to get 2 going through the S's. You're not supposed to pass through the S's, are you, Tim?
I don't think you are, but looking, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there. The attitude of the 33 car, the last lap or so, especially trying to get the power down, as Byron Daly goes way wide here. He's coming to pit road, and that's probably a good sign to get new tires. Because that thing, the rear end was not coming up off the corner. There was no grip with that 33 car, so for Byron Daly, this is we needed to come down pit road to get tires in this thing. And we're close to the halfway point. We have 15 laps completed, 25 laps to go. So not a bad time to come down and get tires on that thing anyway and try to keep them on for the remaining 25.
Yeah, watch Byron Daly going through turn number 10. The car was absolutely flat out sideways. And then when the car finally hooked up, it pushed, one of those push looses. And, yep, he's going to duck in 4 tires and fuel, I would imagine. Right side tires going on. Service as they come around and change left side tires, pack it full of fuel, and it's going to feel a lot better for Byron with a little more traction with 4 fresh tires.
And for what it's worth, we keep talking about tire sets in this series, and this Transervice Cup Series usually has one or two more sets than you might necessarily need if the race goes green all the way and you don't have any caution flag pit stops. As you see the 33 right in behind your leader, Kevin King, in the 88. They have 3 sets of tires at their disposal. So if something happens that Byron wants to pull off one more pit stop, maybe roast those tires off that race car, he's got one more opportunity to come down and get tires on the race car should something happen. I believe that might be Scott Stenzel right in behind him as well. The 63 car is on a lap down, as is Doug Roth in the 43 since the last time we looked back. So that leaves 16 drivers in the lead lap. And here's the new tires. Byron might be a little bit off the regular pace of what Kevin King has, but new tires going to mean a little bit here as they do on every racetrack. It seems like we visit on this Transervice Cup Series. So he'll be able to get that Valvoline number 33 out in front of Kevin King for a little while.
Yeah, good job by the spotter for the 88 to give awareness to Kevin about that. I see him pull high over there in turn number 6 and allow the 33 to draw by. Now, what Kevin has to be careful, and I'm sure he's not going to fall trap to this, is you watch that car in front of you almost like a rabbit. You try to chase it, but with cold tires, or worn tires, I should say, it is really complicated to run the lap speeds, and you just got to be careful you don't overdrive the car by chasing that guy out in front of you.
And just a matter of pacing yourself. And we mentioned a little bit earlier, trying to hit your marks and don't go off the racetrack and don't have that moment lapse and spin the car. Or what we saw with Byron before he got those new tires, trying to keep the car underneath you. Saw the same thing with Kevin Brown trying to come through the S's a couple of times. Just trying to keep that car under you and not spin the rear tires. Here's Tyler Dalton. Mentioned he had the off a little bit earlier. Kevin spent some time down on pit road, and he's going to fall one more lap down here.
Yes, so far we've only seen 2 cars come in for service. The 33 of Byron Daly we documented. The other car was Joshua Williams in the 95. He's out in front of Byron Daly by a good 3 or 4 seconds, so no problems for him to maintain his track on that lead lap. Currently running in the 16th position, and I would expect that he's going to run some faster lap times for a little while.
We've had a few retirees this evening, including Bobby Wetzel, Brandon Massey, and Mike Montesi, but you look at some of these drivers that are out here just trying to get laps and trying to get as many points as they can. I think back to a Richard Beasley-esque driver that's running 22nd right now. He's around that bubble when it comes to the championship for the top 16. We've had a lot of winners. I know they've tightened the bubble up just a little bit of having to be able to use your win when it comes to the championship playoffs, but if you're Richard Beasley and you're kind of hanging around that top 16 and you're not sure how those drops are going to factor in, you kind of need every point you can get, especially at a road course like this, shorter field, only 30 plus in the field here this evening, or 28 that have taken the green flag. So you kind of need to be cognizant of that too, Kevin, where this is an opportunity for a guy like Richard Beasley or a guy that might be close to that bubble to pick up those extra little points.
Yeah, for sure. These drivers are paying attention to that, and they know what this costs. And I ran this track twice. I loathe this racetrack. Finished 21st both times, but I did it for that exact same reason. I wanted the points. I was watching Daniel Falkingham go through turn number 11. He did it differently than Kevin King. We were talking about it earlier. He cuts right across the rumble strips, right tight to the tires. Kevin King doesn't touch the rumble strips, stays out on the racetrack nice and smooth on the corner. And to your point, they're just attacking the racetrack a little bit differently. Now the question for Falkingham is, does he try something a little bit different? Maybe he pits a little earlier or a little later. I don't know which is the better advantage than Kevin King, and works with those fresh tires to see if he can make up this gap. He's still within sight distance as he comes off turn number 6 to the straightaway that leads to 7. He can see King up there. He's gotten away from him a little bit, but not far enough that he's still not within touch.
I think if you're Daniel Falkingham, especially with the way you've fallen back on these older tires on the end of this run, and it's about lap 15 or so on, I think where Daniel's kind of struggling compared to Kevin King. Obviously, Adam Gilland in behind. I think Adam might be a little bit quicker on that, lap 10 to lap 20 sort of portion of this run than Daniel Falkingham, but Daniel's doing a great job right now. I think if you're going to do anything, you have to undercut Kevin King. Kevin King stays out in the racetrack this time, and I think if you undercut him, you come right here. There he goes, down into pit road comes the 39 of Daniel Falkingham. This is, I think this is the only opportunity that you have right now on the racetrack to beat Kevin King, and that's down here on pit road if you can get a flawless stop.
Yeah, tricky pit road to try and find your pit stall. You got to get down to pit road speed, and you got to cut this corner. It really does make a difference to shorten your pit road activity. Is he's going to go all the way down to the other end. At least he knows he's close to the pace car and drop in. And he's in his box pretty cleanly. Good stop, and right side tires going on the Lobster 207 Camaro.
You'd almost have to believe if you're Kevin King, you're going to come by this time and complete lap number 20. You'll be halfway. So if you come down, you split this race into two, as Falkingham will come back out on the racetrack. But if you're Kevin King, you have to believe that you know that Daniel Falkingham came down pit road that last time, and maybe try to save that that one lap undercut per se that Daniel Falkingham would have on Kevin King, albeit I don't think it's going to erase the 5-second deficit that Daniel Falkingham had. But we'll see what happens here with Kevin King. Either way, this will be the halfway lap here when they come back across the straight.
And not a good play for Falk. Moved out of the way, but still had a car in front of him, which is going to slow him up just that heartbeat. And he needs every inch of racetrack he can get. Now he's got some clear racetrack as he rolls around the sharp corner to come down to the drag strip, and he'll be hammered down. Now we'll see whether or not he's going to maintain his decorum, stay smooth, and get fast lap times to see if he can make up that deficit.
The leader is in. Kevin King comes down to pit road and gets it down to pit road speed, and will head down to the attention of his crew. I guess the next question would be, when does Adam Gilland, when does Justin Fuller come down to the pit road? Gilland is going to stay on the racetrack this time by. Justin Fuller goes wide into the final couple of corners and comes through the hairpin. He'll stay on the racetrack. Trey Edson in behind is going to come up on pit road entry, and he is going to stay on the racetrack, as I believe David Comstock will as well. So the two leaders, the two drivers who have set the pace in this race, have come down to get service on their race car. Kevin King still waiting, full of fuel, now down and away.
Down and away, and here comes Daniel Falkingham around. He's got the 5 of Trey Edson kind of holding him up as he comes around to that corner. He could see the 88, but unfortunately didn't get past him. And I have to wonder if the 5 held him up enough that he might have been to that back bumper. They come through 3, one car off, trying to get out of the way. That's Scott Stenzel out in the grass, no harm, no foul. And they roll through here, but now Falkingham right with the 88. Now, will he be able to stay with him and challenge him, or is the 88 going to drive away? Jose Gonzalez in for service. A couple other drivers taking the opportunity to go in at this juncture. They saw and they know, Tim, when the leader pits, you hear it through the call. You see Mike Kelly in for pit service, Randy Yoakum in for pit service, Brian Wertman in for pit service. So these drivers, they figure it's go time at this juncture as we continue to watch that battle out front. The 88 drawing away a little bit, about 8 car lengths as they roll into that final corner to come to the front stretch. But Falkingham is keeping Kevin King honest. One slip, Tim, and it could make the difference as to who's going to go to victory lane here tonight. Up the hill and through turn number 3A, down turn number 4. He's got one car off to the side. That's the 51 of Fuller off the racetrack. Fuller was racing with Randy Yoakum. King going to cleanly go around Randy Yoakum and come into turn number 6. It's going to allow Falkingham to drive in a little closer to him as Randy Yoakum goes high. Fuller gets his car back underneath him, and he's going to continue on to the back stretch. Looking at the running order right now, Adam Gilland out front, did not go to pit road. Fuller, who was off track, is running in second. Kevin King a full racetrack almost behind Fuller is in third, Falkingham third, Edson, O'Rourke, Comstock, and Henderson, Elliott Henderson, currently running in that 8th position. We know that Gilland and Fuller have to go to pit road. We'll see if Fuller goes this time, and he does. Peels off the racetrack over there in turn number 11, and he's going to go around the pit chute and head to pit road.
So Tim Terry having himself a little bit of a connection problem. Adam Gilland down on pit road. I'm going to step in here and call a little bit of the road course action here with you, Kevin, if you don't mind. Paul Strickland Jr. Coming up from the production trailer, doing a little double duty tonight. Adam Gilland on your screen there on pit road. Justin Fuller coming down after that off-track incident there with Trey Edson in the 5 car coming down for service as well.
This is going to cycle Kevin King back out front. He has a 2.3 second lead over Daniel Falkingham. E.J. O'Rourke has cycled to the 3rd position, 18 seconds back. Adam Gilland is in there, but I suspect with these pit stops that we're going to have to wait for our scoring to catch up a little bit. Continue to see David Comstock climb through the rankings, currently running 6th position in the number 13.
A little bit of a wiggle there from the 43 car. Seeking loses the back end, but gathers it back up. That's Doug Roth there on the Petty STP colors. And 13 of Comstock goes on by. We got Elliott Henderson down on pit road in the 37 car. He's up 4 spots on the evening so far here tonight. We might see that change just a little bit. But, man, the biggest gainer, we talked about him a little bit earlier on in a gaggle of cars here right behind the 95 of Williams. Jose Gonzalez currently running in the 12th position. Check that, 11th. Just got around for the 11th position. He's up 13 spots here, Kevin.
Number 28, Ira Kohlhaas, is now approaching turn number 7, and I would assume that these drivers are on the spotter stand, letting these drivers know Kevin King is approaching.
Always making sure that you want to stay out of the room, out of the way of the leaders, especially when it's someone that's put in a lot of time here, like Kevin King has. Been around in the sim racing world for a very long time. And speaking of in the way here, we're having some technical issues here on our end here at Vidane TV. We'll work on getting the video feed back up and running here. Apologize for the inconvenience, but we'll have that back up and running in here in no time. In the meantime, what have all we got going through? We've got pretty much everybody cycled through pit stops at this point, Kevin. So we're just about getting ready to see where everybody's landed.
Yeah, top 5 at this juncture: King, Falkingham, O'Rourke, Gilliland, and Justin Fuller. David Comstock up to 6th. Trey Edson dropped to 7th in that exchange. Byron Daly right back there in 8th. Robert Gillenwater having a nice top 10 run. Joshua Williams up 6 positions to 10th position. I'll tell you again, the car on the move, looking to break into the top 10. 13 spots up from his starting position, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez.
And Jose's done a great job throughout here this afternoon, this evening. He's really been able to hit his marks throughout the racetrack. 12 turns here, and Tim made mention earlier on this afternoon, or this evening rather. It's almost like a bunch of short tracks kind of pieced together like a puzzle to complete an entire road course. And you've got your hairpin turns, your S's, all sorts of different elevation changes and things like that. And Jose really been able to pick up the laps and put them back down, and really showing with his progression.
Tell you where Jose makes the speed is through this S's as he comes through there. He's straight. He's hitting the curbing just correct as he goes through there, and he seems to be smoother than everybody else. From that hairpin turn up at the top of the racetrack to this hairpin turn, breaking the racetrack down, he's got that part down really well as he goes down underneath the 95 of Joshua Williams. In turn 11, they're side by side through turn 12 to the front straightaway. Give Jose a top 10 spot, cuts close to the wall here and lines it up to roll into turn number 2. And I'll tell you, that 26 Goya machine is on the roll here tonight.
A surprise, at least at this point. A little bit of a peak to pit road at number 41. If he doesn't spend a lot of time here on, he might not lose a whole lot compared to where was or just outside the
Gets in point second, match going pit down there. If you come back, you don't get those positions at this juncture of the race.
At this point, if EJ comes out around 9th or 10th place, which wouldn't be too bad at this point, I think he'll be okay. Kevin King continues to lead by about 5 seconds over Daniel Falkingham. Adam Gilland back to position number 3. Justin Fuller and David Comstock are now your top 5. But I'm not sure if David Comstock has anything for Justin Fuller in this run, Kevin. But if he has anything in these final 15, 14 laps or so, he's got to dig deep. He's only about 2 seconds or so behind Justin Fuller, but Fuller has shown, especially on the longer run, that he seems to be just that little bit better.
I'm not sure if there was a problem for Jose Gonzalez. I'm guessing he went off the racetrack because he's dropped back to 13th. He was right up there in that top 10. Looks like maybe a challenge for Jose, although I'm riding with him. He still seems to be running pretty smooth. Maybe I'll rewind the tape and see if I can figure out where the challenge came from.
Still, to try to keep this thing on the racetrack is a challenge in its own, but Jose doing a great job considering where he started. Same thing with Kevin Brown. Started back at 18th place, scored in 11th, and it actually might be 10th before this thing is all said and done. About 2 car lengths back from the 2 of Mike Kelly as they continue to battle for that position. And considering the way that Kevin Brown's night has gone, that front end's all tore up on that 93 car. I think if he can finish in the top 10, I think that's got to be considered a win considering the way the night's gone.
Yeah, and right now coming through the S's, he is making a pest of himself there as he comes through, hustling the car right behind Mike Kelly. And that's distracting seeing the car behind you. He cut through the corner there at number 8A, and that allowed him to draw closer. Now he's got the car really hustling through 10. The 2 is sideways. He's going to make that classic pass going into 11, out braking Mike Kelly and picking up the position.
Yeah, and Mike came across the voice chat, and that's the kind of the point per se. If you were in the real race car, you'd look ahead and you kind of see the point to go to the inside, and I think that's kind of what Mike Kelly did there to move back 1 spot, Kevin Brown up 1, and that actually, Kevin, might not be a bad strategy because we saw Kevin really fight that race car at the end of the run with him and Byron Daly kind of skating around the racetrack. Yeah. It might not be a bad idea. If Mike Kelly can keep that car underneath him, Kevin Brown might come back to him before this thing is all said and done.
Still putting out some of the fastest laps of the race is the 88 of Kevin King, but I've noticed a change in the driving style, Tim. A little bit less aggression in riding up on the rumble strips, staying off more on the racetrack, not throwing the car around, probably conserving his tires. And with the lead that he's got over 5 seconds, I don't think he needs to hustle the car at this point. He just needs to wait for that timer to tick down.
Yeah, I think he does too. You look at Daniel Falkingham, they're matching lap times right now. We're pretty darn close to matching lap times. The problem is that there's 4 seconds in between Kevin King and Daniel Falkingham, and that might not be terribly bad considering that Adam Gilland is about 27, 28 seconds back. Fuller is over 40 seconds behind him. So at that point, it's not bad. But when you look at the fact that those 2 are kind of pulling away from each other and they're mirroring lap times, as long as each other can keep it on the road, they're probably good for a top 2 finish. But Kevin King has to put a lap here on Jose Gonzalez next. That would be the 12th place.
Down into turn 11. This time he's going to cut it close because he knows he's going to try to get to the side of the 26. 26 gets a good run off. He's going to draw away a little bit. Kevin King will let him go as they come across the complete lap number 28, now working lap number 29. He comes through the sweeping turn of number 1 up the hill into turn number 2. And they are going to go on this straightaway. This is a tricky part of the racetrack. You need to get over to the right so that you can make this sweep to the left, and 26 is going to yield the position. You come around this corner and you just don't want to sweep too wide, or you'll end up out in the racetrack. He comes through number 4, down to the sweeping turn of number 5, up and over the blind spot into the carousel of turn number 6, Here you just float the car down through the middle. You get down to the bottom of the apex, hit the rumble strip out, let the car roll out to the grass if you need it, and then hard through the back straightaway. We see all these drivers a lot of times, Tim, after the race, they go do burnouts on the drag strip. They love this racetrack for that purpose.
And when you look at timing, Daniel Falkingham closed in 0.4 of a second that last lap. If he can continue to do that, Kevin, he's going to be there. The problem is he has to do it every single lap and hope for Kevin King to kind of fall back a little bit. So if you're Daniel Falkingham, you have to be up on the wheel and you have to continue to gain what you are doing every single lap, but you have to do it every single lap. I don't want to say that the deck is stacked against Daniel Falkingham, but he kind of controls his own destiny right now.
Yeah, I think Kevin's just kind of pacing himself. If he gets some pressure, I'm guessing he's got a little more reserve in the tank to get himself where he needs to be. Kevin, where is he in the points? I think 35th, if I'm not mistaken, coming in here. So he's got his work to do to get himself up in that position, but of course it's Sonoma.
And as I said, that Daniel Falkingham gained 0.4 of a second the last time by. Kevin gained them back that last time. And that includes passing Jose Gonzalez and putting him one lap down. And now Daniel Falkingham has to do the same thing with the Goya can in front of him. But Kevin, I think, managing the race. Yet something in reserve. I think battle that we saw a little bit earlier between himself and Kevin, Kevin hasn't worn the tires off it yet. He's about 2 seconds ahead of the two.
Yeah, Kelly going to pull wide over there in turn number 7, allow King to draw by. King just cruises on past. He's going to set sail, try and catch up to the other Kevin Brown, as he rolls through the S's. You have to look at the season that Falkingham is having. I don't know what his aspiration was coming in here to a road course, whether he wanted to get this victory. I know he's won at road courses before, but 3 wins on the season. He's got 9 top 5s in 14 races. Just leads in top 10s. He leads 424 laps led on the. Have to tip the cap to Falkingham in the season he's having. And I was kind of curious as Brown off in the grass there in front of Kevin King. He's going to turn right and get out of the way. I was curious as to whether Falkingham would be good here at a road course. And of course, we come to find out that, yep, he doesn't seem to be showing any weaknesses anywhere.
It seems like everybody kind of pointed to Daniel Falkingham as the driver to potentially win this race tonight. And he's going to, he's still up against it. He's got about 4 seconds to reel in Kevin King. And Kevin, I think, has kind of pulled him the last couple laps. We talked about that last 5 to 10-ish laps of the run, Kevin, that Kevin King is better than Daniel Falkingham. And Falkingham is probably out of the top 5 cars. He's probably in the back half of the top 5 when it comes to that late stage of the run. And we're kind of seeing it now. We're on lap number 31. We got 10 laps to go. This is that back half of the run where they continue to, I don't want to say melt those tires off, but maybe this is when the car gets a little bit freer and a little bit harder to handle. And it just seems like Kevin King shines at that point too, as well as throughout the run. And that might be that little bit of reserve that we saw a few laps ago of Kevin King, maybe saving a little bit and conserving a little bit of his tires. He'll come by this time, complete lap number 31. We'll have 9 laps left to go in this race. But the opposite side of everything, if you're Daniel Falkingham, you're hoping for Kevin King to make the mistake because you don't want Kevin to win the race to get that playoff ticket. Now, he's got to move up those point standings a little bit, but when you include those drops and all the races that he has left, Kevin has an opportunity to still make that top, I think it's the 20 that he needs to use that playoff win. So there's still some time to get there. But if you're Daniel Falkingham and the rest of the field, you're kind of shaking in your boots seeing Kevin King up here with 9 laps to go leading this race.
Yeah, problem for Kevin Brown through the S's there. He dropped off. He was tagging close to Mike Kelly and dropped back a little bit. Now running in the 13th position, Elliot Henderson in the 37 was able to get around top 12 for Elliot right now. Jose Gonzalez comes to 11th. And Mike Kelly is pretty secure right now in that 10th position. You know, we were watching Falkingham come through. Scott Stenzel to his outside here. is going to yield the lane. They got Kevin Brown. You just got to give him a nod. He moved out of the way at the jeopardy of fighting for that position to ensure that he was not going to be an impedance to the leaders. It cost him a little bit of time on the racetrack, maybe his continuity, but certainly a show of sportsman in that number 93. Sportsmanship, I should say.
And now just trying to finish this race and get what he can. But you see the 81 of Adam Gilland on your screen, currently running position number 3, and no pressure in front of him, no pressure from behind. He's got about 25 or so seconds to get to Daniel Falkingham. He's got about 20 seconds or so, maybe a little less, back to Justin Fuller. And then you look back to Trey Edson back there, position number 5. He's actually got some lap traffic ahead of him right now. Kevin, Glenn Campbell, Scott Simley, as they battle for what would be 16th place. So Trey not only has to get by them, he's got to be cognizant that those 2 drivers in front of him are battling for a position late in this one.
And a quiet but respectable night for Justin Fuller, our winner last week at Charlotte, currently running in that 4th position. He makes his way through the S's down to turn number 11. Just doing a yeoman's job here, trying to keep the car clean, get a top 5 out of the finish. Just, one of the things we will talk about is the fact that they hit those cones every time. They're in the racing line. The drivers don't care about the cones. They need to get the right arc into the corner. If the cone's in the way, well, they're going to plug them. Game will reset them.
Looks like Kevin King's going to come up with one more piece of lap traffic. That's the 43 of Doug Roth, and he's going to go to the inside, make it look fairly easy, and continue on his pace. In the last couple of laps, Kevin, it's been back and forth between Kevin King and Daniel Falkingham on fast lap time. Last time it was Kevin King by 0.4 of a second. Seems to be that little buzz time, per se, is 0.4 of a second. Last time by, it was in the favor of Kevin King. So if it continues the way it is, Kevin's got to keep it on the racetrack, and he'll come home with a victory. But it's easier said than done. And for some of these drivers, they're just hoping that they can get to the end of this race and just be happy with what they have. As Robert Gillenwater, just in front of Kevin King, he'll go a lap down from 9th.
Leading lap number 33, working lap number 34. I was wrong in what I said before. Some of these road courses, they run 60 minutes, a timed race. For this one, I just checked back through the schedule. It is scheduled distance of 40 laps, so my bad on that. We will have 6 more laps of competition, but right now, Kevin King, as long as he keeps it on the racetrack, is in firm command of this event. And now the question is, how many cars will he get to, Tim, in the context of lapping the competition? He's up to the 9th.
He should get back to Byron Daly here before this thing is all said and done, about 10 seconds or so up the road, but I think that'll probably be it unless E.J. O'Rourke, David Comstock, a few others end up going off in front of him. Now there's the 74, Brian Wortman, going a lap down, but he's a couple of laps down at least at this point. And Randy Yoakum, he'll likely get to. Richard Beasley almost had another off in turn 10. He'll battle with Randy Yoakum. Actually, that is for position. Beasley will lose 21st to the 8 of Randy Yoakum, and that is the battle between 2 lap down cars, Kevin, as they'll continue on, and Beasley will try to pick that spot back up before he gets lapped by Kevin again here in a few moments.
Yeah, Beasley was fortunate enough to get to turn 10 and get it back onto the racetrack. Sometimes when you get out there, it's no man's land, and the car just keeps going out. Remember Michael Waltrip stuffing the car into the wall over there one time, and that time Beasley was able to collect it up and still on the chase going through turn number 2, or turn 3A actually, and heading to turn 4. And these drivers, it doesn't matter how far back they are, they want that position. It's almost like an illness.
No, it's the end of the race. You want to pick up one spot, and especially if you've been out here for, well, these drivers have been in the car for almost 60 minutes now. They've got a few laps left. They got to get what they can, and sometimes that lapse of judgment will happen. You'll have that off. You'll dip those tires off to the other side and end up going off the racetrack. But I know Daniel Falkingham and a few others on that team name were kind of chirping Richard Beasley a little bit earlier, knowing that it's a Ricky Rudd paint scheme on that car, and he's not running very Ricky Rudd-esque right now on a road course. But he'll get through it at the end of this one, as you see Daniel Falkingham on your screen continuing to set some quick lap times down compared to the rest of the field, except for that 88 car that's up front.
I just watched Beasley go through the chicane there over turn number 8. He was off into the grass there. He's got a handful right now, just trying to keep that car on the racetrack. Car is not to his liking, but he's still trying to do his job to chase down that number 8 of Randy Yoakum. I'm sure Randy's a little nervous looking out his back window.
And those are the drivers back there that really didn't have a great night to begin with. You got Ira Cole Haas, and we saw the 28 off a couple of times earlier in this race. And Scott Stenzel's 2 laps down. Doug Roth is 2 laps down. Scott Simley, I believe, is next up on the list, and that car's all trashed on the front end of that car. He actually might be able to stay 2 laps down with the way that he's running, but it's going to be close. 5 laps to go right now for Kevin King. Daniel Falkingham comes by across the stripe right now, and we only have 8 drivers remaining on the lead lap. So Kevin and Daniel are both putting down some quick lap times, but that last lap by Kevin, and I believe Daniel might have been in a little lap traffic. It was a 39.26 to a 40.61. So Kevin over a second faster the last time by.
Go back to the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. He's on the chase trying to get to the number 2 right in front of him. That is for position. Mike Kelly in the 10th position. Jose is closing the gap here with good smooth laps. They roll down through into turn number 6, through turn 5, up over this bank. They got one car in front of both of them. I'm not sure if that's going to impede anybody's progress. That's Doug Roth as he goes down to the straightaway there. That is the drag strip. But Kelly certainly going to feel a lot of pressure here towards the end of this event.
Yeah, you see him on the screen there. Fairly an up and down night, but finish top 10, finish on the lead, or 1 lap down, just barely 1 lap down is what you got to do. But Jose Gonzalez is going to have to hold him off before this thing is all said and done. Jose has had a really great run here this evening, all the way up from position number 24, and wants one more. If you can get a top 10, it's easier to say that you finished top 10 instead of finishing 11th, wherever you are. So he'll look to do that. And Elliot Henderson's not too far in behind, a few seconds back. So if something does happen to these 2 up in front, you see Elliot just barely coming across the corner right there at the top of the screen. So just far enough back that if these 2 can keep it on the racetrack, Kevin, that Elliot Henderson will be shut out of the top 10. But here's the pass right here as Jose Gonzalez goes to the outside. Kelly points him out there, and Gonzalez will move to 10th.
Yeah, right at the start-finish line, and I think the writing was on the wall there. That 26 just on long runs. He's got the speed. The car looks really smooth. He's not all over the place. And one of the things I see is he's just not using the curving that much. He's clipping the yellow line just about every time. Every once in a while, he puts a tire. The car is not sideways, and he's just in a gap where the pace car hides, and is able to get back in the throttle, but the right rear crinkled on the tide ride.
You know, Kevin King's catching these lap cars, Kevin, and he's almost catching them in the right place. Randy Yoakum going wide through about 7 or 8 or so there when it comes to turns, and now Kevin's going to come up on the hairpin 11, and he's not going to beat a Byron Daly, but he's probably going to be there in the next lap or so. He'll come by and see 2 laps to go this time by, 38 completed, and only 2 laps remaining in this 40-lap Transervice Cup Series race. He'll come up on Byron Daly, but that then we'll have some clear sailing to the end. Kevin King again picking up some a little bit of padding on that lead at 39.91, all the way back to a 40.87 for Daniel Falkingham. So another second, give or take a couple of tenths tacked on for Kevin King. What a performance. The field will continue to work by here as he'll get up to the 33 of Byron Daly. Kevin King right on the bumper with the Valvoline number 33 entry. That'll be 2 lap position at number 8. And Kevin, I think he's going to get there. It's just a matter of where he catches the 33. And they'll go into the corner. Daly will go wide. A little bit of runoff there and allows Kevin King to just swoop to the inside.
I think Daly went out to the other part of the racetrack there to let him go by. And, I just have to say how fast the lap times here. I'm in awe. Just an astonishing show of skill here. I don't even know if I could run these lap times, and he's running on completely worn tires. What's interesting is he comes down here through turn 10 to turn 11. When he starts to make the turn, Falkingham comes into that region, and you have to know that Daniel, every time he comes down into that straightaway, is looking over to the right to see how much of an advantage King gets every lap. As he goes around the stricken car of the number 12, King comes across to complete lap number 39. Take the white flag. Lap 40 is on the racetrack as King comes up through the hills, past the crowds up there, who know what an amazing and dominant performance King has had here tonight.
And there is clear sailing ahead of the number 88. The next one is Glenn Campbell up the road about 5 or 6 seconds. So unless the Transervice number 44 has an off, it's going to be clear to the checkered flag for Kevin King and the 88 team. Falkingham has gone back to 9 seconds, almost 10 behind Kevin King. Adam Gilland, Justin Fuller, and Trey Edson continue to run back there, completing your top 5. I think Kevin, if this race was a few laps longer, I think Trey would have got there, but I don't think he's going to have enough to get up to Justin Fuller at the end of this.
King at the top of the racetrack comes around. He's going to sweep into turn number 7, down through the S's for the last time. He comes in smooth as glass, the car up under power as he hops the curbing. He is not going to let off as he sweeps it down through turn number 8A, down to number 9, carrying all that speed like an excellent mechanic down through turn number 10 to the straightaway here to sweep around turn 11 and come back for the checkered flag here at Sonoma.
Yeah, Kevin King works it up through the final corner, through the hairpin. He'll come up off 11, and he'll get ready to see the checkered flag. And for the first time in his sim racing career, Kevin King will score the victory in the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. He is a winner on Monday nights, and Daniel Falkingham going to come by here as well and take second place. Another great effort for the Lobster 207 car. Adam Gilland a little bit further behind, still working through the final couple of corners. Kevin, he'll come up through the hairpin, and he will finish his run this evening. As long as he can slide his way through here, the personal comfort 81 will come up to third.
He pitched the car in there, and he comes off to that last straightaway around the corner of turn number 12 sideways, and he'll get to the line here and lock in that third place finish as he sideways goes across, having a little bit of fun here towards the end.
And completing your top 5 going to be Justin Fuller, and there goes Scott Stenzel in behind, having a little slide. There's Trey Edson. That would be the next lead lap car. That's not a passer position. Fuller comes across ahead of him in 4th, and 5th will be that number 5 car that you see on your screen of Trey Edson. David Comstock and EJ O'Rourke are going to be the last 2 drivers that finish this thing on the lead lap, as EJ has he's going to navigate that 28 car right in behind him. Caught him at the wrong time, Kevin, to get around him, but EJ O'Rourke will pick up position number 7 here.
Yeah, EJ comes across and picks it up a couple cars. Calls it a night over there as Byron Daly comes down through the S's. He'll be the next one. He's 1 lap down, but currently in that 6th position, or 8th position, comes down. And he's going to go to pit road. Is he going to finish on pit road? What was the call there?
I'm not quite sure. We're watching Kevin King here as he'll light it up here on the front straightaway. Richard Beasley is going to join him because I think Richard's hit everything else tonight. He may as well do a couple of burnouts here on the drag strip. Kevin King is your winner. You see the results on your screen as they can continue to update the final couple of cars finishing. But Kevin King, first career SIM500 victory. He still needs to get those points, Kevin, to lock himself into the playoffs, the championship playoffs at the end of the season. But with the way it's going, I think Kevin King might be safe if he continues to reel these finishes off.
I saw Gillenwater go off into pit road also. I suspect that his event is over as he pulls into his pit box to the attention of his crew, but it's the 88 celebrating here on the front straightaway as he burns them down. Kevin King is your winner here tonight at Sonoma, and he did it in fine fashion, picking up the pole or the lead right from the beginning. He led pretty much almost all the laps here, Tim.
Yeah, while we wait for Kevin King, we'll see if we can't catch up with Adam Gilland. And Adam, I know it wasn't the finish that you wanted, but let's talk about the race. Third place, you kind of have to be happy with it, considering this being the road course.
Yeah, no, definitely. Going into the night, I really thought third was going to be the best we do. Daniel's usually really good here, and old man Kevin, he's really taken to these road courses the last 6 months, so I knew he was going to be strong. Was kind of interested to see how that battle would play out. Daniel doesn't look like it was as close as I thought it was going to be, but nonetheless, congrats to Kevin. He's showing the old guys that they can still get it done, especially turning right too. But yeah, now I'm really happy with third. It's been a rough, up and down season, I guess. Not rough, but happy to get out of here with the podium.
I want to ask you about the start of the race because it looked like the tires spun the wrong way coming to the green flag. What was going through your mind when you were trying to get up through the gears?
I just kind of I guess underestimated how much tire spin there would be, especially with fresh tires. Really couldn't get them hooked up, and I have to go back and watch the broadcast. But I felt like I was swatting flies the entire length of front straightaway up into turn one. It was a handful.
Back after a week off with the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series and looking forward to the summer stretch. What are you most looking forward to here in these next few races?
I'm not too sure, honestly. I don't even know what we got coming up. Pocono is usually a pretty good track for myself. I'm looking forward to the All-Star race. Joey and Fuller and all those guys usually put together a pretty fun format every year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they get whipped up, and that'll be pretty fun. But usually, the summer stretch usually isn't my best racetrack. So we're just going to try to get through the next few races and position ourselves nicely come chase time.
Let's talk sponsors on this race car marketing partners, because I know you got some personal comfort product in the last couple of weeks since we were off, right?
Sure did, yeah. Scott Stencil and Personal Comfort hooked me up. Finally can represent, I have them in my car and finally can get a good night's rest in my Personal Comfort bed. Really got nothing but great things to say. I've told you the last few days, Tim, how great it's been. So highly recommend everyone checking out Personal Comfort and looking into getting a bed that will fit your needs. It definitely has fit mine. So I really thank Scott and Personal Comfort, everyone at the team for all the help on the Road to Pro side. We had a really good week this past week, and look forward to continuing that here in a few weeks' time in round two.
I know you're looking forward after a long night to go get buckled in that bed. So congratulations. Enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, Tim.
That's Adam Gilland finishing in position number 3. And I believe, Kevin, you've caught up with our winner, Kevin King.
I have. Kevin King unstraps his helmet and slides over here. Kevin, man, it is a chore to run this racetrack and ensure that you're not going to have any offs and just keep it picture perfect. And you had a flawless race here tonight. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah, appreciate it. I knew it was going to be tough, but for whatever reason this week, I really had fun racing road courses for the very first time in years. And I got some tips from some guys on some wheel settings that I'd never tried ever in the time I've been sim racing, and I tried them and I got used to it, and I just felt really, really good. Short run pace was really good, and long run pace was really good. So I was probably the most consistent I've been on a road course in, goodness gracious, 15 plus years, I would think. And I just felt really just glued to the track. I didn't feel afraid of braking hard or late or gassing off the corner. So super happy. Finally got a win. I know they've been beating me up over it, but I finally got a win to say to my name on this series. So I'm pretty happy.
All those second place finishes, it's got to be great to check the box. And now all you have to do is just climb enough to get there to that championship run. Take us through your night here tonight. How did you attack the racetrack? Were you trying to slide it through the corners? Were you just trying to stay on the track? It looked like on the long runs you had one of the straighter cars coming through all the different sweeps through the S's and such.
Yeah, I talk a lot with Mitchell DeJong, who's probably one of the best in the world at road courses. I don't really race road a lot, but here and there I'll ask him some questions. And Graham Bolden, who's very accomplished in his own right on the Cup side of things and Coke Series and just overall road guy. I really just try to mentally tell myself, no throttle through the corner, 60% throttle as much as you can, very little 100% throttle, brake early, let the car just roll through the corner and then, get on throttle smooth on exit. Whereas before I really try to hustle through the corner. So I really focused on setting the nose and pointing the nose where I wanted to go before I even applied throttle. And just talking to those guys over, last year or two or whatnot, just trying to figure out like what I was doing wrong. It was super beneficial. I think the update helped me a little bit. I didn't wheel hop as much, which usually kills tires. And for whatever reason, I just was able to keep the rears on a little bit better.
All the way through, it looked like you were in command of the race, but you had to be looking out that rear window, and Daniel's no slouch at this racetrack. He kept you honest, but you were able to get that gap that you needed.
Yeah, we did one A-fix during the week as I was trying to figure out what I was doing. And he got me pretty good, but towards the end of the race, I started to catch up, and I didn't really know if it was just him, taking it easy, or me just trying to, figuring out how to drive and having good tire wear. But I ran a few other races. I had a league race yesterday, and I ran NAS on Saturday, and so a few other A-fix, and I just felt like over the long run, I actually had pretty good tires. So I felt like if I could, the restart rule is actually the thing that actually helped me the most. I knew if he got in front of me, it was going to be difficult because I'd have to either pit long or somehow just beat him on the long run. So the fact that he had to wait so long to get the green helped me a ton because I was able to keep him into the first corner pretty even, which gave me the first corner myself. So yeah, I saw him in the rear view. I knew we were really close on speed. And at that time, I just wanted to just maintain and make him use up tires a little bit more to try to pass, and just kind of cushion myself until halfway. And then when he pit, I pit, and I knew I'd had a tire advantage the entire time, and really just kind of drove my race the entire length of the thing.
If you could call it a concern, that was probably the place where you were at the most jeopardy during that pit cycle. It came out not too far behind you, but you were able to drive off from him and score the win here. And you know what? How about it, Kevin? This is it. You've been chasing those seconds a lot like, the real NASCAR series in the 5-car. And here tonight, you're able to get the victory. Now you can coast through the summer and just get the job done.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to beat up Beasley pretty bad. I think I saw him about 4 or 5 times during the race, and one of them was he was looking at my car as I was passing him, so I knew that was a good thing. So I'm definitely going to chide him a little bit on how his race went. But it's so hard to win these things recently, and the fact that I was able to do it on a road course for me personally is pretty cool. It's just not been my strong suit. I used to like it years ago, and it fell out of grace with me, and I really didn't like how they drove, and I stayed away from them. So for me to actually have some competitive speed on this thing, and it was not sheer luck that I was able to do it, feels really good. Obviously, I'm a lot older than most of these guys out here, so the ability for me to still be competitive and figure stuff out, as long as I've been doing this, is pretty special. So finally got that win. Looking forward to still gain more points so I get in the chase and all that fun stuff in the playoffs and keep rolling.
Looks like you also didn't forget how to do a burnout. Who helps you get it done here, Kevin?
Yeah, I think the team: Adam, Colton, Blake, Jackson, Tammy, Logan, Danny, Outrun Esports, Jabo rated me while I was streaming. J Concepts, which is a real life RC sponsor. Team Associated, Shell, Outrun, of course. Again, Tim. I got Tim's cool logo. He showed me some pictures of his logo actually being applied on a real car, so that was pretty cool. We worked on that for his 10th year anniversary. BC Workshop. I know a lot of people give setup shops kind of a kick in the nuts sometimes, but there are some people that do take advantage of those things that don't have either the know-how or the capability of building a setup that's more competitive than the regular stuff. So I know Blake and those guys do a really good job of making somewhat competitive setups that are better than the most, maybe not top tier like Road to Pro stuff, but stuff that you can go into a race and feeling competitive with. So thanks to those guys for coming on board for Road to Pro, and looking forward to hopefully getting into round 2. Had a third at Martinsville, and looking forward to Dover to try to get that ever elusive second round, so I can get in that other area with Adam, hopefully a few others. So,
Kevin, it was a pleasure watching you win tonight. Congratulations on checking the box for that, and we'll see you next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where we go to the third annual SIM500 All-Star event. Go enjoy your evening here tonight. We'll turn it over to Tim, who's caught up with our second place finisher, Daniel Falkingham.
Well, Daniel Falkingham, I don't know if he's old enough to drink, but he's halfway through his virtual glass of wine in Sonoma County, finishing second tonight. Daniel, I know it's not the finish that you wanted, but let's chat about this race. What else did you need to get up to Kevin King at the end?
Yeah, if I need to know how to restart, first of all. Pretty much after Kevin got the lead on me, I think that was all she wrote right there. But yeah, I tried to do the undercut there halfway through the race, pretty much giving up most of my halfway points, see if I could do that. But the gap was already so big, I didn't think it was going to work, and it didn't. So tried a last-ditch effort there to see if I could do anything after I gave up the lead on the start, which my starts and restarts I definitely need to get better at. It's always been my Achilles heel. But yeah, other than that, we just flat out got beat. So congrats to Kevin, and yeah.
Seems like tire management was key, especially in the late half of that run. Did it seem like the tires were going away on that second half of the run, leading up to the pit stop and leading up to the finish?
Yeah, for sure. My immaturity definitely showed, probably from my earlier years, where I was using up my stuff, trying to get back to the lead after I lost it, and that ultimately killed me. Friggin' was sliding around first 2-3 laps, and that's all she wrote for me. And then I just kept falling back, and pretty much it got to like 5 seconds when I tried to do the undercut. So it was a last-ditch effort, like I said, to see if I could maybe even give myself a shot. But yeah, definitely my younger self and my immaturity showed on that first half, just trying to get back to the lead when I gave it up like that. So I'm just more disappointed in myself. I couldn't have done a better job and whatnot, but it's all right. We still got a P2, definitely better than where we ended up 2 weeks ago. So at least we brought the car home this time and not getting wrecked out and whatnot.
Well, it's another solid finish, and you've had a lot of them here this season, couple of wins, working towards what would be that playoffs coming up in 10, 12 races or so. Who do you got in this race car? Who do you want to thank for getting you to the racetrack tonight?
I thank First Rate Bay Laps 207 for all they do for all their support. Also, got to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. Definitely going to go back and watch that. You guys do a great job every week. Got to thank Joey and everyone who runs the show, SIM500. Got to thank everyone who comes out and races each and every week as well. Got to thank my teammates. I had a team name: Chad Coleman, Dave Comstock, Byron Daly, Richard Beasley, Kevin Brown, Josh Barker, who is currently suspended at the moment. Speaking to him, thank you to Bill Schoonover for picking me for the team challenge with Schoonover Motorsports and whatnot. Trying to get all these points for him while Josh is sitting out the next few races and whatnot, trying to get those all-important points and whatnot, since we're at a bit of a disadvantage and whatnot. But, yeah, thank you to him. Got to thank who else got to thank? Got to thank you guys again for the broadcast. Thanks to Transervice for sponsoring the series. Thanks to all the fans who come out and watch us each and every week, and thanks to all the friends and family who are watching as well.
It's Daniel Falkingham coming home with a runner-up finish tonight. And before Kevin, we cut this off. Kevin King is here, and so is Richard Beasley. So, Kevin, what do you have to ask Richard Beasley? Because I know you saw him a bunch tonight. What do you got to say?
I just Ricky Rudd would not be happy with the performance that sidecar did today. And then you parked it. I mean, I know there's parking spaces, but you didn't literally have to park it in the parking spaces.
Hey, we're just saving it for next road course. You know, we got to save this car for the Glen.
It's a long way up the road, isn't it?
Listen, I'm just glad you finally won a race over here, Kevin. You know, and it had to be at a road course, so you're like the AJ Allmendinger of SIM500 now. Can only win a road course.
Where are you?
Where'd you finish tonight? 45th?
Nah, 22nd.
4 laps down. It's not bad. Every 10 laps I pass you.
Listen, we got some damage, right? We got some damage early on, and we couldn't recover.
Where did you get the damage?
One of the tire barriers. I don't know. We hit a few of them. One of them.
At least the Sonoma virtual crew has some work to do ahead of it. But you're fighting for a top 16 battle. So how important was it to get this car home and mostly one piece.
Yeah, I mean it's big. It'll help us. We just needed to show up and run the race and finish it and get the points. We don't have a big showing here at road courses. We knew that coming in, and we did what we could do to finish it.
Well, it's a great 42nd place effort that you had tonight. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week at the All-Star race.
Wait, I have a question for you. What was the inside of the car sound as you were heading off to that inside wall? Did you think you were going to miss it? Coming off the 10? I can hear you like, oh!
Yeah, it was a screech, like a high-pitched screech.
I was riding with you when you did that, and my toes curled. I felt bad for you.
Now, Kevin Beasley has some baseball to take care of, I believe, so we'll let him go and take care of the show because, you know, he's got some practice in on that. Who knows? We might see another Beasley Kevin King battle before this one's all said and done. I think Beasley's got a lineup waiting for him to play, though. We have some fun here on Monday nights. That's Richard Beasley finishing in 25th, something like that.
22nd.
Close enough. So,
yeah. Take away those 3 spots from him.
Not
Tim,
anywhere close.
I keep hearing about these baseball games between Richard Beasley, Kevin King. We've never seen one on Verdane TV.
Oh, it's because he never wants to play. Oh, I'm watching the kids play soccer at 3 a.m. He gives you the most random excuses. The Xbox blew up. Set on fire just as I loaded it. It's
we're not laughing at Richard.
Connecticut this weekend.
Richard's got some travel restrictions. He's not actually going to be able to make it out to Stafford Speedway this Friday, but we are saving a seat for him later on this season.
I thought he broke his arm.
Unreal.
What? Watching kids play soccer, who knows what the excuse is. But Jared Bolliard, champion of Verdane Racing Super Speedway Series 2 seasons back, wasn't able to get out last year because of COVID. Gonna be in the car this weekend. I'm gonna be at the track all weekend long. Gonna be racing some street stocks Friday night. The Wheel & Tour mod, not the Wheel & Tour mod, the Tri-Track Touring Modified Series, whatever they're called, the Twisted T80, they're out there. Woody Pitcat's probably going to come home with that. And Saturday night, the SRX Racing Series debut, I'm going to be on hand. A bunch of the Verdane Racing guys, the Renner Race Car crew is going to be there. Kevin England, you and I get to hang out for the very first time.
Yeah.
Probably hook up a couple of those Stafford Speedway IPAs, the double hooked IPAs. They're
Maybe
very,
Paul,
very
we
good.
can get the signature or our Indy 500 winner is going to be there, yeah?
Yeah, Helio Castroneves is going to be there.
Helio's going to be racing Saturday night at Stafford.
Greg Biffle's going to be one of the guys that's there, so that's going to be big fun. And I'm
little
being told,
autograph.
Yeah, exactly. But that's going to be very exciting. We got a couple days before to go there before we get there. Wednesday night doubleheader action, Tim's Corner Live, episode number 19. Got a stacked field on hand for that 3-guest lineup. Check it out over at Tim's Corner Motorsports, and right after that, the Fatheads Cup Series Championship race at Texas Motor Speedway. That is going to be a race you do not want to miss. 4 drivers vying for that championship, and it's going to come right down to the very last lap, I think. And then Thursday night, the Multi-League Cup Series, and then Friday night, Stafford Motor Speedway. Going to be hanging out there. Be sure, if you get out to the track, shoot us a message over on the Facebook page and let us know you're out there. Take some pictures with us, hang out, drink a couple of ice-cold adult beverages. Verdane TV always reminds you to drink responsibly. But that's going to wrap it up here tonight. SIM500 Transervice Cup Series, easy enough for me to say. Heading on out of California, off to the All-Star race next week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Really looking forward to that. Special guest in the booth next week, Brian Macklin, the number 30 driver, going to be up here with Kevin and Tim calling the action. And man, oh man, is it going to be exciting. But that's going to wrap it up here for Verdane TV. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Facebook and on YouTube. A little bit of issues with the Facebook, but I think we got it all worked out, ready to rock and roll for the future. We'll see you in the future. We'll see you on the next time, and when we do, we're going to be doing it live.